Hey everyone, and welcome. So, Amazon Bedrock has opened up this absolutely incredible, exploding universe of AI models right inside AWS. But with all that power, you gotta ask the big question, how do you actually control it all? Well, in this explainer, we're gonna build a rock-solid governance strategy piece by piece.
I mean, really think about it. You've got models from Anthropic, Meta, Amazon, Cohere. That list is just going to keep on growing. Now, giving everybody access to everything is awesome for playing around and prototyping. But when you get to production, you need some serious control over your costs, compliance, and of course, security. So that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to kick things off with how Bedrock works right out of the box. Then, we'll split our journey down two main paths. First, how to handle models from the AWS Marketplace, and second, how to manage all the others. We'll also touch on some really important exceptions you need to know, and then we'll wrap it all up into a powerful governance toolkit you can start using immediately.
All right, first up, let's get our bearings and understand the starting line. Amazon Bedrock is built for speed and simplicity, which means its default state is, well, pretty wide open. That's right. If your teams have the basic permissions, they can pretty much start using any model they want right away. And look, that is fantastic for getting projects moving fast, but it can also be a real headache for governance. You have to have a plan to lock things down.
Okay, so let's get into our first real control method. And this is where things get really interesting, because how you govern a model completely depends on where it comes from. We'll start with the models that are offered through the AWS Marketplace.
And boom, this slide right here is the absolute core concept for Bedrock governance. For marketplace models, think Anthropic, Cohere, you control access by managing their subscription. The key you need for that is the product ID. Now, for the other models, like from Amazon or Meta, you control access by managing their invocation, their actual use. And for that, the key is the model ARN. And honestly, getting this difference is pretty much the key to everything. So for all those marketplace models, this is your gatekeeper, the AWS Marketplace Subscribe Action and IAM. You can think of it like the bouncer at the club door. By controlling this one little action in your IAM policies, you get to decide who can even sign up to use a new model in the first place. So how do we actually use this? Well, check this out. This is a classic IAM deny policy. What we're doing is telling AWS, hey, for this particular user or role, I want you to explicitly deny them the ability to subscribe. It's a preemptive block. It stops access before it can even begin. Now, the real secret sauce in this policy is the condition block. This is where you get super specific and target the exact model. By listing out the AWS Marketplace Product ID, in this example, it's for Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, you're basically saying, deny the subscription, but only for this specific product. It's incredibly precise. And just to make this real, here are a couple of those product IDs you'd see in the wild. Every single marketplace model has one of these unique identifiers. You can find the whole list in the AWS docs, of course, but this gives you a good feel for what you're going to be working with. All right, so we've got the subscription path down. Let's switch gears and jump over to the other side of the fence. What about all those models that aren't sold through the marketplace? Well, this is going to require a completely different strategy. Right. These providers here, including Amazon's own Titan models and super popular ones like Meta's Llama, they don't have marketplace product IDs. So that whole AWS Marketplace subscribe trick we just learned, yeah, that's not going to work for them at all. We need a new tool in our toolbox. And here's our new tool. The whole strategy flips from preventing the subscription to preventing the invocation, the actual use. You basically create an IAM policy that explicitly denies any and all Bedrock actions, like invoke model, on that specific model. You'll notice the IAM policy for this looks totally different. We're not denying a marketplace action anymore. Instead, we're denying Bedrock/star, which is a wildcard that covers every single action within the Bedrock service, but only for the resource we specify. This is a super powerful way to immediately cut off access to a model, even for someone who is already using it. And see, instead of that condition block we saw before, the star of the show here is the resource block. This is where you put the full Amazon resource name, the ARN of the model you want to block. You're targeting the model itself directly, which effectively just turns it off for that user or role. Okay, now that we have our two main control paths down, let's dive into a few special cases and, some of the fine print you'll definitely want to know about. These are important. Okay, two really critical points here.
First, if you're a new customer and you want to use Anthropic models, you have to fill out this one-time form about your use case for that specific account. Second, and this is a big one for compliance, you agree to a model's end-user license agreement, the EULA, the very first time you use it. So a really good best practice is to just block all new third-party models by default until your legal team has given the thumbs up on the terms. Now, if you're working in AWS Gov Cloud, listen up, because the workflow here is a little bit unique. You don't actually enable models directly in the Gov Cloud console. What you have to do is use your associated standard AWS account ID, enable the models in a commercial region like US East 1, and then they'll show up as available for you to use inside your Gov Cloud environment. A little tricky, but easy once you know how.
Whew, okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's pull all this together into a nice, clean summary. Think of this as your brand new governance toolkit.
This table right here is your cheat sheet. You've got two main control levers. First is the preemptive block. You use deny AWS Marketplace/subscribe with a product ID, and this is perfect for stopping anyone from ever touching a new, unapproved model. Your second tool is usage revocation. You use deny Bedrock/star on a model's ARN, and this is your go-to for immediately cutting off access to any model. Super useful for non-marketplace models or for just revoking existing access.
So at the end of the day, how you mix and match these tools, your IAM policies, that is your governance strategy. You can build an allow list, you can build a deny list, you can do a hybrid. The power to build that strategy is totally in your hands. So the real question is, what will yours be?